Hi, my name is Jessica Jackson of Thriving in Motherhood podcast, and I'm wondering, have you ever had the experience of something that you know you should do or you want to do or would make your life better? Maybe having more of a schedule to your week or deciding when you're going to do laundry every week, something to that nature, and yet, or maybe something bigger like take that step and commit to writing the book or working on your watercoloring project, anything, right? That you feel like it's been on your heart for a long time, but you haven't actually done it yet. And you've got a good list of reasons why. Well, today I want to talk to you about the power of a risk list and how it can maybe help get you unstuck and start moving forward on those things that you think that you want to try. One of the biggest hurdles or objections that you might have as we're talking today about doing those things that you want to do is time. Where are you going to find the time or the energy to move forward on something that matters to you or that you feel like you should be doing? Well, that is why I've created this free workshop, 3 Secrets to Do More of What You Love Without Hiring a Babysitter. It is full of incredible tips, help, support to help empower you to be able to overcome that problem of not having enough time or not having enough energy and move forward. These are the same steps and principles that I've done in my own life to be, a full-time homeschooling mother with 4 kids here at home, and yet still be able to podcast, run a business and garden and work on house projects. And we don't have family close by. I really am genuine about the not having babysitter part. I put the workshop together following these principles because that's how it works. Okay. So it's real. It's tried, it's tested, and not just by me. We now have had mothers literally all over the world that have gone through this program with incredible results and experiences, and it has transformed their lives. And the first 90 days are big, but as you keep going, as I keep applying these principles that you learn in the workshop, they go from struggling with laundry to running businesses. So it doesn't have to be your goal, but business doesn't have to be your end goal here. But the point is that these principles, this research-backed principles that I share in the workshop and in the Made to Soar program after, are really powerful. So I want you to check that out at thrivinginmotherhoodpodcast.com/workshop. Now, I want to share all that with you because it's really important. Like, you're not going to move forward if you feel like that's a problem, right? So I really want you to feel confident that there is an opportunity there for you. But today let's focus on this idea of a risk. Now, what I like about this principle, or I guess let me back up. So a few weeks ago, my husband and I were having a conversation about fear and about peace, and what are some of the things that stop us from feeling peace. And one of them is like the fear of the unknown, or fear of embarrassment, or fear of change, all of these things. And it's honestly immobilizing. It can be immobilizing, and you just don't move forward. Or even simple fears of like, okay, well, let me back up. Okay. So we then, a few days later, had another conversation about risk. And my husband is not a visionary. Like, if I ask him, like, what do you want to do? Or what do you like? Or like, nothing. I want to be happy. I like what I'm doing. Whereas I can give you a million ideas, that are crazy and off the wall. And he's very patient with me as he listens to them and just kind of lets them roll off his back. Having said that, and then he jumps in on the ones that are important to me. He's wonderful. He's wonderful. But one of the things that was really interesting to me, so if you're someone where, because I talked with so many moms, they're like, I don't know, kind of like, I don't know what I want, or I don't know what I want to do, or I don't know, I kind of do what my husband's vision is. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I asked him the question, what risks could we take? Because the nice thing about a risk is that on the other side of a risk is growth is an opportunity, right? Not every risk is great, but typically when you think about a risk, it could be like the risk of investing something and see if you get something back out, right? It could be a risk of trying something new and maybe it works out for you. Things that are risks have an inherent, typically, if it's not a dangerous one, have inherently something to be gained, right? And that's what makes it a risk. Like, you're not sure, but there's a possibility there. And so the interesting thing is when I asked him what risks could we take, it did not like we were on a roll. We could think of tons of risks that we could take. Some as simple as going on a road trip up the coast. That would be a risk, with all of our 4 kids. Or we could risk some things in our, professional lives, or with the work that we do. Or and then we started realizing, like, we could take a risk and get a phone that my children could use, so we could go on a walk around the block without them, and they could call us if there's an emergency. That would be a risk, right? But basically it became anything that we felt like we had talked about doing but never done, it was probably because there felt like there was some risk involved. And so therefore we hadn't done it. And as I started thinking about this, I realized, wait a minute, maybe the reason why I haven't committed to like scheduling out when I clean things is because it's a risk. It's a risk to try it. What if it doesn't work? What if I can't get it done? What if the reason why I haven't, invested into doing a game night every week with my kids in the evening instead of just putting them to bed is because there's an inherent risk there, right? I'm losing some time that I normally have to myself. That's a risk. Will it pay off? I don't know. Or what if we risk going to bed instead of staying up late, watching Netflix? There's a risk there. You risk losing that entertainment, that time that you had to yourself, but what could you gain in the morning or the next day? Or how will your behavior change, right? So the point is that we have lots of risk. And as I started to view everything as a potential risk, it became fun. It becomes a fun challenge for me. So if this doesn't sound fun to you, if you're like panicking and your anxiety levels are rising, then okay, don't worry about it. Do not frame things as risks. But for me, framing it as a risk, all of a sudden I was like, this could be fun. I could write a book, which by the way, we're going to talk about that later. But it's like, I could write a book. That's a risk. That sounds fun. I could add some more systems. That could be fun, right? And because it's an element, like if it's a risk, it's okay to try it. It's okay if it fails. It's okay to put a bunch of to go all in and see what happens. It's okay to be curious. And when we talk about becoming a soaring mother, A is for adventure, approaching life as a sense of adventure. And when you can approach things, if this is fun for you, this resonates with you, this idea of approaching all these little things that you've thought about doing but never done as a risk, letting it be a challenge, getting curious about it, getting excited about it, trying to solve a problem that you have never solved before. Taking that risk, the opportunity cost and, the economics principle of, you might give up something, but what could you get in return? Maybe the opportunity cost is too high, but maybe not. Maybe this is a great opportunity for you. So it is, risks are scary. They're inherently scary. But I feel like when you can reframe it like this, it is a safe way of looking fear at the face and see if it's valid, so you can get things down on paper and just look at it. Now, the fun thing too, as we created this risk list, we just verbally talked about it, but then I sat and jotted it down. The other thing is that it's another way of uncovering should statements that might have been in your head. Should I do this? And, we could take a risk. But when you get it down on paper, the interesting thing is you might realize, yeah, we could do that, but I don't care about doing that at all. Or you might uncover I actually really want to do that thing. And maybe it doesn't seem so scary if I can realize it's a risk, it's something I want to try. I want to go all in. I want to conquer this. So as you navigate your list, just because you write it down as a risk doesn't mean you have to take it. But what I hope it does is it's another way of asking yourself a question to get things out of your brain onto paper and then evaluate it so you can either lean in or let go. This is something that we do every quarter with a quarterly review. We go back at our visions and say, what's relevant? What can I let go of? What can I add? We try and get really clear about not holding on to extra stuff that's weighing us down. And so this is another great way to do some exploring for what you might want to be part of your vision in the next quarter. We're coming, we're at the mid of June here. This is a great time to start thinking about the next 3 months of the year. And also what to let go of, what you actually don't care about, but for whatever reason, social media or your parents or your friends or school or whatever kind of put this thing in your head that said, hey, maybe you should be doing this thing. And you don't need to, so you can let it go. Here's another risk that I realized. What feels risky for you in home management? I mentioned cleaning systems, but what about decluttering? I realized I was listening to a podcast with Dawn, the Minimal Mom, who was going to be on this show soon. I've already interviewed her. I just need to edit it. But she mentioned that it wasn't until they got rid of 80% of their stuff that she really noticed a difference in the clutter in their home. Now, we've been decluttering for years, and I've made so much progress, and there's areas of our home that are clutter-free almost all the time. They're easy to reset. We can reset our spaces in 2 minutes, but there's other rooms that aren't. Why? Because it feels like a risk. It feels like a risk to get aggressive with those spaces. And so that's okay. Once I realized that, it's like, oh, well, can I just try an experiment? Can I just box up pretty much everything, leave what I think is, a reasonable amount that we can all take care of and see what happens? I could experiment. I could take that risk, right? I could. And you can too. So what is the thing for you around your home, in your hobbies, in your dreams, in your business, with the projects around the house? What is that thing that feels like a big risk? In your marriage, is committing to date night every week a big risk? Yeah, it is. If you're not doing it, that might feel hard. Is taking away 15 minutes every evening instead of, checking your email, scrolling social media, working on your own hobby to talk to your husband a risk? It could be if you're not doing it, right? You're trading something for something else. But why not try? Why not try? And that's what's been, again, so helpful for me, this little paradigm shift, this thriving thought of, hey, it is a risk. Let's try it. Let's go. If it's something that's important to me, why not? Let's just do it. So parting thoughts today, quick review. If there's something that you want to do, well, first of all, sit down and write out a list of the risks that you have in your brain. What feels risky to you right now? What is something that feels a bit scary to you right now? In all areas of your life, whatever comes to mind, brainstorm with your spouse. After you've written that list down, take a moment, step back, evaluate. Do I actually care about this thing or not? If you don't care about it, cross it off. If it's something that you're like, nope, that I do care about. Okay, great. Pick one. Try something. Move forward. Let it be a risk. Let it yourself experiment. Be curious. Try. Fail. Go at it from all directions. Learn. Research. Dive in deep. And why not? Why not? So as you think about this idea of taking risks, I would love it if you go share it with a mom friend. Share it with somebody or a friend, any friend. Share this with a friend, this concept, this episode. Send it their way and then talk about it. Okay? This is a way more fun conversation to have at the playground than potty training and nap schedules and how your kids aren't sleeping. Promise. What are on both of your hearts? What are the risks that you want to take? How can you dive into them together or cheer each other on along the way? This is a huge part of the influence that you have in your home. Can you take this information? Can you take this idea of taking risks and model it for your kids? You have so much influence in your home. So much influence. Can you use that and not only become a soaring mother, someone who's excited to adventure through life, not hold on so tightly to the consequences, right? Learn along the way. Do something a little bit out of the ordinary. Can you extend that to becoming a soaring family? Can you have that culture be part of, for your kids? What risks are your kids needing to take this summer? Right? We've got a little more time this summer. What can you help them do? This is how we grow. We want to get places where we're uncomfortable. And you never know where the journey will lead, right? I started podcasting 5 years ago because I just want to do something uncomfortable. It was a risk. And I never would dream that it's got me where I am today. I would never dream that that's the path that I would go on. And so if you can just let yourself take a risk, try a little baby step and see what happens. You might find that it's not for you. It might not get the returns you're hoping for, but that's okay because you learned something. And so I hope that you can have some fun with this episode today. I hope that you can talk about it with your friends, with your spouse, with your children, and see what comes up for all of you and have some fun with it. So if this episode was helpful to you, please let me know in the comments. If you're on iTunes, you can head over there and leave a rating and review. It's the most helpful thing you can do. And I would also really appreciate it if you shoot this video or this podcast over to a friend so that we can all keep learning and growing together, soaring together in this incredible journey of motherhood. And again, check out that workshop, 3 Secrets to Do More of What You Love Without Hiring a Babysitter at thrivingandmotherhoodpodcast.com/workshop. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you again next week.